Hi there, and welcome to your first module in the Brahman Academy. I am your host for this session, Rachel Cottrere, and what we want to start out with talking about in this first session is a little bit of Brahman history. So first I want to introduce ourselves. I'm Rachel Cottrere, and I will be the presenter for this portion of the Brahman Academy. I grew up on one of the largest Brahmin ranches in the USA, and my ancestors are actually some of the people who brought Brahmin cattle to the United States. And so Brahmin cattle have been a huge part of my life, from the beginning, and is something that is a passion that both my husband and I share. My husband, Brandon, is also pictured here, and he will be one of the presenters in several of the management style modules coming up in this course. And then pictured with us is our two daughters. We are the owners of BR Cottrere Incorporated, which the B and the R stand for Brandon and Rachel, and we are located in Wharton County, which we like to call it the heart of Brahmin country because there's tons of great Brahmin breeders in this area, and it really is kind of a really hot area where the Brahmin breed started and found its roots, and it's a great place to come if you're looking to learn more about Brahmin cattle. And you can learn more about us on our website at brcottrere.com. So to get started, I like to talk about why Brahmin, and sharing the benefits of Brahmins is one of the things that I believe so strongly in. I heard a quote from Bubba Sartwell at an ABBA meeting which you'll learn about that family a little more in this course, but he had said that his mission was for every cattleman in North America to know and understand the role of using Brahmin in the beef industry, and I believe it. As soon as I heard that, I was like, that is my passion too. And so I want to share with you some of the major reasons that people choose Brahmin cattle to use in purebred and crossbreed settings. The first is heat tolerance. Brahmins are known for being able to withstand extreme amounts of heat, and if you've seen them in any type of ranching environment, in those summer months, you'll see your Brahmin bull out there, working in the pasture, just thriving in the hot sun, where other breeds sometimes may be under the shade tree or even in a pond trying to cool off. So if you live in the Gulf Coast, Brahmins are crucial to have that heat tolerance and the ability to withstand the sun and the droughts. Brahmins are known for thriving in harsh conditions. They've been adapted over time to work well along the Gulf Coast, in marshlands, in places where other breeds of cattle just quite honestly can't make it. And that's one of the reasons Brahmin adapted so well in the southern U.S. because it's hot down here, right? And there's mosquitoes that are the size of your fist, and certain cattle just can't make it, but Brahmin cattle can. And Brahmin cattle are also known for their superior maternal ability. I mean, that Brahma cow is a wonderful mother. She's going to protect her calf. She's going to raise a big, healthy, hardy calf, and their mothering ability, milk, and maternal instincts are one of the major reasons why people like to incorporate them into their herds in the South. I mentioned those big mosquitoes a little bit, but insect resistance is another big major plus in using Brahmin cattle, and it's not just insects that it's not just mosquitoes that they can repel. It's flies, ticks, any type of bug that can get on you in those marshlands or down in South Texas. Brahmins can repel those actually, because if you get up close to them, you'll see they have a twitching ability on their skin. And so if a insect lands on them, they have the ability to shake it off, in the words of Taylor Swift, and that's really important in keeping them healthy and keeping them thriving in these hard conditions. Health and survival, the Brahmin cow is second to none. And this not only comes into play in the pasture and on the ranch settings, but also once they get into the feedlot, because they're going to stay healthy and you're not going to experience as much sick loss or death loss compared to other breeds, because Brahmins have that healthy survival instinct. And so when you combine all of these wonderful things about Brahman, probably the biggest thing is that Brahmins are the key to maximum heterosis. And heterosis would be hybrid vigor that you find when crossbreeding. So when you cross two animals that are of unrelated breeds, you get a little boost of performance. And the greater the difference in the breeds, the greater the difference, that boost in performance. And so since Brahman is such a unique breed and one of the most different breeds compared to an Angus or a Hereford, when you inject that shot of Brahman into a crossbreeding program, your performance is going to explode. You're going to get heavier weaning weights, longer years of production by adding the longevity of Brahman. You're going to get better health, and it's just honestly the perfect cross for the southern United States, the Gulf Coast, and that is why Brahman is probably so popular, because it's the best breed for crossbreeding with British and Angus. So let me give you a little history of the breed. The Brahman breed, the American Brahman breed, was actually developed in the United States, but its base is a combination of 4 Indian cattle breeds that you can see here, which is the gyr. The gyr is the red animal here pictured on the left with the big ears and the roll to the head, the curved horns. The Gujarat is the photo in the middle, which has a broader head, as you can see, the grayer color that you might see in a lot of today's typical Brahman cattle. The Nellore, which is the solid white animal, and then the Krishna Valley, which is this bull here in the bottom left corner. These are just photos that I got off the internet and that represent the breeds. And so these breeds were blended together and adapted together to form the American Brahman as we know it today. But the American Brahman today is a purebred breed. It was developed in the United States as a result of crossing these Indian cattle. In 1924, there was a major importation of more of these type Gujarat type cattle from Brazil that really helped shape the breed. This photo here is a bull from that importation, which is the bull Rodrigo. And it's really cool because the people in this picture are my ancestors. Jim Ferguson is one of my ancestors. My grandmother was from the Ferguson family. This photo is given to us by J.D. Hudgens, but this importation really brought in the type of cattle and the look of the cattle that is seen primarily in today's modern American Brahman. And this importation was done by J.D. Hudgens. In 1924, the American Brahman Breeders Association was formed, and the word Brahman was actually created by J.W. Sartwell, who's known as the father of Brahman. And the point of ABBA was to establish a herd book to maintain the parentage of the new Brahman breed that was growing and expanding in the United States. Currently, the ABBA office is headquartered in Houston, Texas, and it currently has around 1,000 members and registers around 12,000 head of Brahman cattle per year in the United States. So if you aren't a member of the ABBA, I invite you to check it out at brahman.org, and it's a really fun organization to join and meet other Brahman breeders. And then finally, the Brahman Journal is the official magazine of the ABBA, and it, to me, is the best source of getting Brahman news. You can get your Brahman news in their magazine and also on their Facebook page. Their subscriptions are very affordable, and you get the magazine every month, and then you can follow along with everything that's going on in the breed. And so I highly recommend subscribing to that journal or that magazine to stay in touch with Brahman happenings. Also, it's very important to know who is Manso. So Manso is the bull pictured here, and he is really considered the foundation sire of the Brahman breed. He's actually a descendant of that 1924 importation that I mentioned. So if you look at the type that Manso is, compared to some of those other breeds, you really start to see this is where the beef type Brahman came into play. It is estimated that 75% of the Brahman cattle today in the United States, and probably the world, honestly, carry the Manso bloodline, because he is the foundation sire of J.D. Hudgens, and his genetics have proliferated through the world and really took the Brahman breed to the modern beef type that it is today. If you like Brahman history, I I mean, we could talk for hours about fun Brahman history and fun Brahman facts. There is a great book that is published by the ABBA. It's the American Brahman Book by Joe Ackerman, and it was published in the mid-'80s, so it's not as current. It doesn't have a lot of the current things about Brahman, but it's a great historical resource. And you can order it at Brahman.org, which is the ABBA website. And it gives you a ton of information about the history of the breed and the foundation stock of the breed. And it's a really good read if you're interested in Brahman history. So Brahmins, as we know them today, are typically used in two roles in the U.S. and global beef industry. And the first one would be use as registered cattle or seed stock cattle. And the second one would be for use in commercial crossbreeding. So using Brahman cattle with a British base, like a Hereford or an Angus cow, to produce those F1s that we talked about, which are in such high demand. You'll also probably hear Brahman referred to as crossbreeding's common denominator. And the reason for that is because Brahman is a base in what we refer to as the American breeds here in the United States. So Brangus, for example, that's a Brahman times an Angus. Great breed adapted for the southern U.S. Beefmaster is another one that's so popular that has a Brahman base. Santa Gertrudis, once again, a great cross that is made from a Brahman, from using Brahman base. Brayford is another, and there's many more, but the best thing about Brahman is that it can be used to cross with other breeds to take those benefits of Brahman, like the heat tolerance and the adaptability, the longevity, and then take those strengths and match it with the strength of another breed, like the carcass quality of the Angus, carcass quality of Shorthorn or Hereford, and mix those two together to get a really great breed like the ones we see here. So we've talked a little bit about the heat tolerance, but we can't emphasize this enough because for producers, probably one of the biggest keys in their success is choosing a breed that fits their environment. So when we pull up this map of the United States, this map represents the average annual temperature of the United States. So you can see down here in South Texas, South Florida, the average annual temperature is 80 to 90 degrees per year. And I live right at the intersection of the orange and the goldish color. And I can tell you, there are many days where it gets well over 100 degrees and it is hot. And there are certain breeds that, let's be frank, they just can't make it in these hot conditions. So really, when you look at the areas that are the orange and the gold, this is the area where Brahman cattle are made for. They are the perfect breed for these areas because they're able to withstand these hot temperatures that other breeds just can't do it. And then as you look up in the lighter yellow segment across the Midwest, where the average temperature would be 60 to 70 degrees, this is an area that's probably better suited for a touch of Brahman influence, like a half-blood Brahman, so Brangus, Beefmaster, Santa Gertrudis, some of those breeds, or even a quarter-blood Brahman, where they can still take the colder temperatures, but have that little touch of Brahman influence to get them through the summer, especially feeding in hot feedlots in the summer. And then the areas in gray and blue, obviously this is an area where Brahman is probably not meant to thrive, but there's a large portion of the United States, as you can see, that really needs the Brahman influence to have a successful beef cattle operation. When you take this same map and apply it at the global level, then that is when things really get exciting for the Brahman breed, because look how many parts of the world are now in that orange color. The orange or the gold color, we're looking at entire continents now that are in tropical conditions that need some Brahman influence. And when you think about the big picture of the beef industry, this is when I get really excited for Brahman. It's estimated that 40% of the world's land mass is a tropical condition, and that means Brahman is perfect for that area. And for us at our ranch, this map is pretty indicative of where we sell cattle and genetics to. We've actually sold cattle to every continent in the world other than Antarctica. But Brahman cattle are a perfect breed for the world's beef industry to utilize those lands that maybe aren't suitable for other breeds and convert that land and forage into beef to feeding the world. So congratulations, you have made it through the first section, and I will tell you this is one of the shorter sessions in the Brahman Academy, but we felt it was really important to lay the foundation about the history of the breed and the importance of the breed before we dive into a lot of the more in-depth topics. So our next section that you will enjoy is selection and breed character of Brahman. And thanks for listening and watching, and we will see you soon.